Hi gents, Mr. Holding again here, and this video is following up from the Year 7 Task 1 for Chemistry, and we're specifically in this video looking at how to do up a results table to record all your results. Okay, so it's quite important that we're able to do that. So the first thing we need to do is identify a title for our table. All right. Now in the last video we talked about graphs and diagrams, and we referred to them as figures. And the title for a figure goes at the bottom, okay, of a picture or a graph. For a table, it's the opposite, okay? So in this case, I'm going to do my table, and my title's going to be at the top, all right? So likewise, I need to make it applicable. It doesn't have to be too huge, but basically, the title needs to reflect what the information is. So results of, or in this case, we might say results of soluble and insoluble. Okay, so I've gone and written my title in there. Now, I need to do a table. Okay, so how do I do that? How do I know how many columns to go across and how many rows to go down? Okay, so that's an important question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my information here in my method. Sorry, no, I'm not. I'm going to go to my materials, and I'm going to have a look at a couple of things. So for starters, what are the two independent variables? I've got alcohol and methylated spirits. Okay, so there's two things there. So that's my solvent. I've got two of them. Now for each solvent, I then need to go and test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that means I have to have 6 spaces. All right, so do I put 6 across? Well, the answer is no, because I need to have the space for my 6, but I also have to have an extra one at the start to be able to list my 2 solvents. Okay? And the same question happens with regards to rows. Alright? I need the 2 rows for alcohol and methylated spirits, but I also need the extra row above them to be able to put in the different solutes. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 1, and I've got 1, 2 plus 1. Okay, so turning my page back here, first decision we need to make, do I put the solutes or the solvents above? So I don't want to have alcohol and methylated spirits up here and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down there, or do I want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across here, and then in this 7th column have alcohol and methylated spirits. Now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go the 7 columns across, so the 1 plus the 6, and then I'm going to have 3 down that way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I just thought I would show you how I'm doing this. So for starters, what I've done is I've gone and I've written up here. So I've gone, I need 6 spaces for my results for each of the solutes. Okay, so the salt, sugar, copper sulfate, all those kind of things. And I don't need a lot of space for that, so I've given that 2 centimeters. But I thought for the methylated spirits and alcohol, I might have a bit longer. So there's 7 spaces. If I gave 2 centimeters of space, that's about 14. But I thought, no, I'll give myself a bit more space for the start. So I've gone 4, and then I've gone 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters. So in total, it's gone 16 across. All right. Now I need to work out how much space I need for each row. And I think 2 centimeters is probably accurate, so I need 6 spots, 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. Same thing over this side. 1, 2, 3. And then I connect the bottom. And if I've done it accurately, which I have, that's 16 centimeters across the bottom there. Now, to make it easier to connect them up accurately, I want to measure them out. So remember, I've gone 4 centimeters, and then every 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And now I just need to accurately and neatly join the dots. Alright, so I've gone and done my table in here. Now in this case I haven't used the whole space, but I've made it large enough to be as accurate as possible. Okay, so we remember I decided that I was going to put my solutes along the top here. So I can go and put them in and I can write them in. So salt, sugar, copper, sulfate, iodine, coffee, forgotten the last one, flour. Okay, notice everything here is being done in pencil. Okay, so I use a pacer, but you can use a pencil or whatever you prefer to use. If you've got a pacer, use that. All right, and the reason why is you want to be able to modify this, or if you make an error. Okay, so I've got my solutes across the top. Now I want to put my two solvents. So my first one is water. Okay, and the second one is alcohol. Okay, now I might also, depending on the type of results table I'm going to do, is I might want to put in whether they're solids or liquids. So in this case, these are both liquids, and these are all solids. And those little symbols, so the S means that it's a solid, these are liquid. All right. So what I need to be testing is whether, when I put salt into water, whether this solid disappears. If that solid disappears, we say that it's soluble. Okay? If that solid disappears, we say that sugar is soluble, and go on. Now that I've done my results table, how am I going to complete it? Well, the way that I'm going to do that is by having a key. Okay? So I've written key there. Now, there's three possible results. There's going to be soluble, which means it disappears. Slightly soluble, which means it kind of does, but not as good as some of the others. And then insoluble. Okay? So we'll write that down. So soluble, slightly soluble, and insoluble. Okay, now rather than writing those in there, because I don't have a lot of space, I'm going to give them, well, a key, really. Okay, so for soluble, I'm going to just have the letter S. For insoluble, I'm going to have, or slightly soluble, I'm going to have SS, slightly soluble. And for insoluble, yep, you guessed it, I'm going to have I. Okay? Now what that means, if I then turn around and go, oh, salt, that's soluble, worked really well. I'm just going to go in here and put soluble. Okay? Whereas for alcohol, I might decide that it's not. And I say, yep, no, that's definitely insoluble. I'll go and put an I in there. And now I don't know right now, because we haven't done the exam, I don't know whether those are correct, so obviously don't copy me right now. I'm just giving you an example. But that shows you how you can complete it. All right? Now, when we finish this, you can very clearly go, all right, well, the question at the end, these ones here, which substances were soluble in water? Well, you let's go along to water and look for the letter S. Oh, salt soluble. And then you'll have the rest of them. Which ones were soluble in alcohol? No, not salt. And you pick them. And then it might say which ones are neither soluble in water or alcohol. So you're going looking for the I's and go, oh, in alcohol, salt is insoluble. In water, iodine is insoluble. And you identify them that way. So that if you set your results table up really well, take your time, do it accurately, it's going to make interpretation of results much, much easier. So that's why it's important to take the time, do it neatly, have a think about how you're going to present your data, because remember, tables, graphs, and figures, it's all about presenting information to your reader. The easier you can do it, the more successful you've been. Okay, so the better you can set this up, okay, the clearer you can do it, the neater it is, the better you present the information, and the easier it makes it when you need to go and analyze your information here in the discussion. All right, so hopefully you found that helpful. Any questions, of course, come and see me.